these very few verses, 10th chapter, which are all about hospitality. Jesus says this, "Whoever welcomes you welcomes me, and whoever welcomes me welcomes the one who sent me. Whoever welcomes a prophet in the name of a prophet will receive a prophet's reward. Whoever welcomes a righteous person in the name of a righteous person will receive the reward of the righteous. And whoever gives even a cup of cold water to one of these little ones in the name of a disciple, truly, I tell you, none of these will lose their reward." So ends the reading from God's holy word.
Thanks be to God.
Invite us to pray. Gracious and hospitable God, we thank you for welcoming us into the world and for continuing to extend that welcome throughout our lives. We ask that we would catch that same spirit from you in offering hospitality to the world. Bless us as we reflect upon these very few verses from Matthew's Gospel, that we might, by your grace, live them out. Well, happy 4th of July weekend. With the arrival of the 4th of July weekend, summer season seems to be upon us in earnest, if it wasn't before. And along with very often great food and fireworks, this holiday is usually marked by a whole lot of travel, particularly driving, as people gather someplace hopefully cool to celebrate with friends and family. That in turn means that the highways are bursting at the seams these days, with everything from scooter bikes to semis, making their way to pretty much every point on the compass. Of course, with so many folks on the road, it's imperative that people have the chance to rest as they travel. Hence the creation of aptly named rest stops, very often located near the state lines, so that folks can refresh themselves as they come into the next state. But not every state welcomes us in the same way. There was a time years ago when crossing over our southern border of New York State usually meant a sudden encounter with potholes, or road acne, or grumble strips, such that our neighbor to the south in that earlier day was dubbed Pennsylvania. That was back in the day, if you remember the slogan, "You have a friend in Pennsylvania," which is probably a good thing, because you might need a friend in Pennsylvania in case you had to stay overnight while your axle was being repaired. On the other hand, in other states, and this is probably true in Pennsylvania now, we're immediately met with lavish hospitality that sometimes can even rival a Hyatt Regency. Very posh places. But it's funny the different messages you receive depending on the kind of welcome you get. The fancy rest stop may say, "Gee, I'm glad you're here. Buy something while you are." But the potholes might more convey, "Gee, enter if you must, but keep on moving and drive lightly." Either way, we get a welcome of one kind or another. And that was the theme of the reading today, as Jesus teaches us about a welcome. He insists that as we welcome others, we welcome Him, and in turn, God. Sort of a package deal. 3 for the price of 1. It reminds me of the Bristol Mountain Family Seasons Pass deal, whereby your 6th child skis free. That's after shelling $2,800 out for the other 5. I guess you could call that a kind of hospitality, but I call it business. But at no extra charge, Jesus and God come along with us as we extend hospitality to another, which makes our efforts to welcome others all that more important, maybe even divinely important. Maybe important enough to try to fill in our potholes a little bit and smooth the way. I was the recipient of some wonderful hospitality recently. My friend Carl, who resides at MMUing, invited me to lunch. I arrived to find the dining room there full of residents and visitors, and a nice table for four, to which I was ushered. And there sat Carl and his roommate, another gentleman, all of whom proved to be delightful company. They really were. My only complaint is that the chair that I was invited to sit in was extremely low. So throughout the entire lunch, I was staring at my friend's kneecaps, kind of eating like this. But we made the best of it, and they didn't look down their noses at me. Fact is, Carl was a very gracious host, even to the point of offering no fewer than 3 desserts. I'm going back. But as lovely as my lunch was at MMUing, I'm reminded by today's reading that hospitality need not be that elaborate. You don't need 3 desserts. Jesus speaks of offering a cup of water. Sometimes that's all it takes. Now I'm going to offer a memory that even predates my sister. Years ago, when I was a little boy, probably around the age of 5, maybe a little less than that, my dad hired a guy to do gardening around the house. And to the eyes of this 5-year-old, this gentleman appeared to be about 127. And on one especially hot day while I was outside playing nearby, the gardener guy called me over and he asked very kindly, "Hey, Bob," it's the only time in my life I was ever called Bob, "could you fetch me a cup of water?" And I did. Because even at that young age, I figured it's a good idea to keep 127-year-olds hydrated. And he was very grateful, but he was more than grateful. Because in return, he gave me a great gift. Because with some of that water, the water he didn't drink, he taught me how to make mud pies. And what a thrill that was for me. I don't know about Mom, but it was for me. And I had a ball, and it was amazing to me what a little cup of water could do. I think sometimes we may assume, I do, they got to roll out some big red carpet. When in fact, maybe all we have to do is smile or say hello. Different hospital. I entered the intensive care unit at Highland Hospital last week. And with those electronic doors and all the weird sounds and the darkened hallway down at the entrance to it, it had the feel of some kind of top secret installation from a James Bond movie. Anyway, I pushed the button, and after the big door swung open, there was this wonderful, smiling woman sitting behind a desk, offering a warm greeting and one of those little things you got to wear, little bracelets, indicating that we were bona fide visitors. But that was, it was a little thing, but it was a big thing. To see her smile and to get that greeting immediately upon entering that kind of scary place. Because when you're going to visit somebody that you love who's very ill, a warm greeting can feel like a cup of water to your soul. I was grateful for the welcome. But then as I walked in, headed down toward her room, my cousin's room, I began to wonder back a few minutes about the homeless guy, or at least apparently homeless guy, that we saw at Starbucks, outside Starbucks, on Mount Hope. He went in there to get a mocha. He probably couldn't afford a mocha. He might not even be welcome at the counter at Starbucks. I don't know. Would he be welcomed into the intensive care unit? Which costs usually a whole lot more than a mocha. I prayed he'd never need it. We were treated so well by the woman at at the ICU desk, and frankly, I think that greeting visitors was part of her job, and I think she did it very, very well. But what about when hospitality is not part of our job? Not even expected? In fact, when welcoming is not at all welcome. There are places at the borders of our nation, borders of our communities, and borders of our hearts where strangers are not welcome. In those places, hospitality does not come cheaply, if it comes at all. Henry Nouwen wrote this about hospitality. He said, "Hospitality means the creation of free space where the stranger can enter and become a friend instead of an enemy." Hospitality is not to change people, but to offer them space where change can take place. I was walking down the road, far away from any hospital this time, down near the Cobblestone Retreat House a couple of weeks back, down near Dundee. I had a spiritual direction session, and I was enjoying that sense of peace that often lingers with me after one of those sessions. It's Mennonite country down there, and it's not unusual to see farm families out working the fields. Took my walk right around noon, and it happened that there were two Mennonite gentlemen, literally outstanding in their field, wearing their signature hats. And as I walked closer down the road, I figured it'd be neighborly to wave to them. I wasn't sure about the language issue, whether they were necessarily comfortable with English. And I waved to them. And in unison, they offered back a very clear, "Good morning," in English better than mine. I chuckled. The assumptions I make tend to make things so difficult sometimes, imagining some vast chasm between myself and others, when in fact we really are a lot alike. More alike than I think, with similar needs and hopes, dreams. Esther DeWall described beautifully our tendency to see others as so different. She wrote this: "It's only too easy as I walk along a crowded pavement, rush into a supermarket, watch people crossing the road as I pull up to the light, to dismiss them, to fail to see them as human beings, or simply to pass some superficial judgment on their clothes or appearance, labeling them, putting them in a pigeonhole." End of quote. But if we truly sense that we are ambassadors of God, if we carry God within us, just as others carry God within them, and perhaps our greetings, and our hospitality, and maybe even our policies might change. I close with this little illustration. Our Hindu brothers and sisters have a lovely greeting, and I want to share with you. With hands like this, they bow and they say, and pardon my pronunciation, "Namaste," which means, I bow to the divine in you. In the name of the Holy One, Namaste.
Namaste.